Good afternoon. So this is going to be an example of Halloween ABCs. And what you see under the camera right now are called thumbnail sketches. You can tell that I folded the paper twice, once vertically, once horizontally. I have 4 separate rectangular sections, and I've just been playing with ideas. Now, you don't have to do this. This is not required of you. But sometimes when you're exploring possibilities and you have several good ideas, you may jot them down to see if you like one better than the other. Here, I really wasn't sure what these letters would become until I started drawing. Sometimes you just don't know until you start working. So my S became something that slithers, like a snake or a worm. I probably would have to do more research to flesh this one out and make it work better for me. But you can see the segments begins with an S, of this slithery creature. I think it might be fun to add more slithery creatures along with this one to make the background more active and interesting. Here you see O for owl, and again I'd have to do my research. I'm not really sure that I've gotten all the important details of an owl, but I have a few with the stars in the background and the moon peeping out from behind the letter O. The Z here was meant to be zombie. I think I really need to do some zombie research. I'm not sure exactly what a zombie is, but again, if I pulled up some reference materials, perhaps my zombie Z would be better. And finally down here, the G, which I'm kind of familiar with for ghost. You can see the G comes in as it should here. There's 1 ghost, 2 ghosts, 3 ghosts, some tombstones, and in the background a star and the moon. So because it's more familiar and comfortable for me, I think I will do this one in a larger format. This is my better quality drawing paper right here. You can see the big movement of my arm here as I form a letter O. But it's not going to stay a letter O. It is going to become a letter G. Now I don't want to go too dark on my lines for fear that I may wish to go ahead and add or correct. So a lighter line is easier to add and correct. But there's my G. Do you notice how dramatically it fills up the design space? So you want something large and dominant and emphatic so that the viewer doesn't miss the idea that the G here is very important. I see here that this little overlap could be the overlapping top of my ghost. So he's going to be a little cross-eyed, a little confused, and a little surprised all at once. So there's the top of one ghost. I suppose I could even knock a hole here in the side and give him one of his little arms there, and potentially, let's try it over here, another little arm. Okay, that one's awfully small. It's kind of cute to have them of different sizes. I may leave that one the way it is, or I may change it later on. It was an accident that I made it that small, but that doesn't mean it's a bad accident. Some accidents can be good. I'll go around here and go ahead and make another ghost right here. This one, very conventional face, nothing special or unusual. I might go ahead and give him a little bit of a top knot or a bit of hair there. And again, let's see, I don't think I like this line. You can see that I am still changing as I go along. And then another one here. There's another little hand there. I don't like that hard point there, so I'm going to get rid of that. So you see I'm constantly judging and evaluating and making a determination if something needs to be corrected or changed. This is not unusual. So it may be that as I do this, the surface might look a little scratchy and scruffy, like I didn't know what I was doing, but so many of these mistakes can be corrected later on. So let me go ahead and continue. What if I did this? Now this was not in my original, but what if I make this ghost independent of that ghost? Maybe this ghost goes on top of that ghost. Maybe this ghost comes down, he comes down here and resolves itself or finishes itself that way. So again, not perfect, but it's looking okay. I do believe I'll go back here and change this arm a little bit. going to make it a little bit bigger, a little more in proportion to that one. Or alternatively, I could skinny this arm down to make it more like this one over here. Both are not the same, but that's okay. And if this was too large, I might alter that, but I kind of need that portion going inside the G to know that it's a capital G. So you can see that it's pretty active with my little ghost. Now, in my thumbnail over here, I do have some tombstones, pretty conventional. You kind of expect to see those. So I'll go ahead and add one of those here. You notice how I really make good use of my space. Here I'm crowding this corner. I won't really add much pencil work here because color will come later, but you can see how I'm beginning to detail this out. There's one tombstone. What if I make another tombstone here, but because the ghost is somewhat translucent, light passes through it, I can actually see a solid edge of the stone there, and maybe some solid darker shading there, and then maybe here it's much more faint. And here is the line of the ghost going on top. So I'm trying to create a sense of transparency right there, or translucency. So that kind of takes care of the bottom. I'm going to go very lightly to establish some hills here. This again is very conventional for me. I often will put hills in there to establish a rolling space behind. I would like to put a moon in here and put a face on the moon to add yet one more cartoon-like feature to this. Think of my options. I have this. I could have a rising or setting moon there. I think I'll go with this space here just because this space sort of needs some help. Notice how there isn't much happening here. Let's get this space activated, and there is my moon, and he is happily smiling down on what he sees. And very lightly I'll draw in just a few stars. I'll scatter them around to kind of balance out their use, going around their outside edge slowly and carefully to establish the 5 points of each star. Again, conventional, that means pretty predictable, but nevertheless helps to add to the overall look of things. If this line is a little too light, I might have to darken it for you to see it. I can do that. So that is my pencil work for my G for ghosts. This would be G for my Halloween ghosts, my Halloween ABCs, and this is done on better quality paper, okay? Now, what I am going to do in my next video is add color to this, but right now you see how we begin our final for Halloween ABCs. Now, you try.